Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. This is IMAX Sports with another football video, and today I'm going over my MVP predictions as of week 12. I've been doing this channel every 3 weeks since week 3. So I did week 3, week 6, week 9, and this is the 4th installment right now. I go over the top 10 players that I think are in the MVP race, and technically not all of these players are in the race, but a couple of them I just want to put on here to mention because of the stats that they've been having and the season that they've been having. So, yeah. Also, according to YouTube's analytics, only 10% of you are subscribed. So if you enjoy my content and you want to see more content like it, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free and you can always unsubscribe. I also have a disclaimer. Some of these projections might be extreme and may cause some viewers to rage quit the video. I don't believe all of these players here will get the stats that I've projected, but they all have the potential to get where I put them. So if, I know that this season has a lot of quarterbacks that are doing very well compared to normal NFL seasons. I don't think that all of these quarterbacks are going to end up with as many touchdowns or as many yards as I am projecting them to have. That's just what they're trending towards this point in the season. Granted, we're already 12 weeks in, so this is pretty accurate. They're not all going to get these projections. This is just what they could potentially get if they continue to do what they're doing. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay guys, so today we are starting off at number 10 with Tyreek Hill. This is the first wide receiver I've had on here since week 3. Week 3 I had Calvin Ridley because he had a very strong start to the season. And after this last game, when the Chiefs played the Buccaneers, I figured I'd put Tyreek Hill on this list. He will not be getting the MVP because, as we saw in 2007, with Randy Moss and Tom Brady, even if a wide receiver breaks records for receiving touchdowns and has a phenomenal season for yards, they're still not going to get the MVP. They don't give MVP to wide receivers, so Tyreek Hill won't get it. But right now he has 68 catches for 1,021 yards and 13 touchdowns. He leads the NFL in receptions, in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. The Chiefs' record is 10-1. He's projected to have around 110 receptions for 1,600 yards and about 20 touchdowns. The only thing holding him back is the fact that he's a wide receiver, and I'd give him about a 1% chance of getting the NFL MVP. At number 9, we have Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald currently has 31 total tackles, 19 solo tackles, 12 assists, 13 tackles for loss, 10 sacks, and 62 sack yards. He has 4 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 1 pass defended, and the Rams' record is 7-4. He's currently slated to have 18 tackles for a loss, with 15 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, 3 recoveries, and 2 passes defended, with a total of 55 tackles. The thing that's holding Aaron Donald back is the fact that he's on defense, and also the fact that he's not going to be getting any he's going to be getting phenomenal sack numbers. He's not going to get any record-breaking sack numbers. He's not going to be getting 20 or 21 or 18 or anything in that range. He had a chance to do that, and then he kind of fell off, but he could recover. He could bring it back and come in first, clutch end of the season. But right now, I think that he has a very good standing for Defensive Player of the Year, but not for MVP because of the fact that he's on defense and he's not having a record-breaking season. As a defensive player, you need a record-breaking season to be in the MVP conversation. But I want to put him in here because he's a phenomenal player and he deserves to be on this list. At number 8, we have Ben Roethlisberger. Sorry if you can't read the yellow. He has 255 of 238 for 2,534 yards, 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 101.4. He has 19 carries for 14 yards on the ground, and he's number 15 in yards per game as well as number 5 in passing touchdowns. The reason why there's an asterisk there is because he hasn't played his last game yet. So he only played 10 games as opposed to most of the league who's played 11 games. So he could be up to 4 or 3. Well, he won't get up to 4, but he'll still be number 5 in passing touchdowns, but he'll be closer to Brady at the end of this Ravens game. He's projected to have 4,100 yards, a quarterback rating of 103, 36 touchdowns, 7 picks, and 25 carries for around 20 yards. The only thing holding him back is his touchdowns and his rushing. A lot of quarterbacks in the league these days run with the football, and even Tom Brady has 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns this season. But Ben Roethlisberger doesn't run anything. And as far as his touchdowns go, they're okay. Well, they're very good, but his yards is also a very big issue. The fact that he's number 15 in the league in yards per game would hurt him in the MVP race. But other than that, he is undefeated, and I think that he does have a solid MVP ballot. He has a chance of getting it with his undefeated record. So I have him at about 5% chance. At number 7, we have Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has 256 carries for 1,257 yards, 12 touchdowns, 14 catches for 96. He leads the NFL in rushing yards. He has a record of 8-3, and he's projected to have around 400 carries for 2,000 yards, 20 catches for 150 yards, around 18 rushing touchdowns, and potentially a receiving touchdown as well. Derrick Henry's had a phenomenal season, just like last year, and although he's currently on track for around 1,890 yards or something like that, I think that he can get to 2,000. I think that he can scrounge up enough yards in the next 5 games to get 2,000. That would mean he'll need around 150 yards a game. I think he can do that. He's not the only thing holding him back. He's not a quarterback, and he doesn't catch footballs. If he caught as much as Dalvin Cook caught, then he would definitely be a stronger MVP candidate. Dalvin Cook isn't on this list because the Vikings are likely not making the playoffs, and Dalvin Cook likely will not have the stats to have 2,000 yards. So Derrick Henry is on this list as the running back, but if he caught stuff, he would definitely have a better ballot right now than he does, but he still has a very solid chance around 5%. Moving on, we have Josh Allen at number 6. Josh Allen is currently 267 of 388 for 3,028 yards, 22 touchdowns, 8 picks, and a quarterback rating of 102.3. He has 81 carries for 312 yards on the ground and 6 touchdowns, and he's number 7 in yards per game and number 10 passing touchdowns. Unlike Ben Roethlisberger, he's the first quarterback on this list to be in top 10 for both yards and touchdowns in the league. His record is 8-3, and he's projected to have around 4,700 yards, a quarterback rating of 102, 34 touchdowns, 11 picks, 110 carries for 450 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So overall, this is a very solid line. This is an incredible line. This is actually it's not comparable, but it's comparable to last year's Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson had 36 touchdowns and 7 on the ground. Allen's looking at 34 touchdowns and 9 on the ground. Jackson had a little over 3,000 yards and 1,000 yards on the ground. Allen's looking at 4,700 yards and 450 on the ground. He's having a very impressive season. He's doing very well. His team is 8-3, and the only thing holding him back is his consistency. The last few games, he hasn't been as consistent with his statistics, and if that continues, then his stats won't be as good as the other quarterbacks coming down the stretch. I think Josh Allen is a very good MVP candidate ballot. He's had a good ballot the entire season, and I think that if he can get some extra yards or some extra touchdowns down the stretch, then he can definitely have a chance at the MVP. I have him at a 7% chance. At number 5, we have Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is currently 264 of 387 for 2,814 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 9 picks, for a quarterback rating of 95.9. He has 29 total touchdowns, and he has 97 carries for 650 yards and 10 touchdowns. He has a record of 6-5 right now. Projections, he's projected to have around 4,100 yards and a quarterback rating of 96, 30 touchdowns, 13 picks, 150 carries for over 1,000 yards and 14 touchdowns. The biggest thing that I like about Kyler Murray for the MVP this season is the fact that last year Lamar went 3,000 and 1,000, and he got the MVP. But they went 14-2. The Ravens went 14-2. Right now, Kyler Murray is looking to get 4,000 yards and 1,000 rushing instead of 3,000 and 1,000. But the issue is that he might not make the playoffs. Currently, the Cardinals are 6-5. The Vikings are 5-6. If the Vikings can make the playoffs, then Kyler Murray's chances of the MVP are gone. The fact that he is most of his team's offense, though, if they do end up in the playoffs, is a very strong case for him. But he didn't have a great week last week, and if he continues to not do well, then he might be out of it. But I think that he still has a very strong candidacy for the MVP with his 29 touchdowns right now. At number 4, we have Tom Brady. And right now, Tom Brady is 307 of 474 for 3,300 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 11 picks, for a quarterback rating of 95.1. He also has 20 carries on the ground for 7 yards and 3 touchdowns. I expect his touchdowns to pass his yards by the end of the season. His yards keep going down and down. He's number 8 in yards per game and number 4 in passing touchdowns. He's not quite broken top 5 in both. His record is 7-5. And he's projected to have around 4,300 yards, a 985 quarterback rating, 38 touchdowns, 15 picks, 30 carries for 10 yards and 5 touchdowns. What's holding him back is his interceptions. Tom Brady's never been known for interceptions. He's actually, other than Aaron Rodgers, has thrown one of the least amount of interceptions since he came into the league, or on average per season since he came into the league. But this season, he's with a new offense. He's with Bruce Arians, and Bruce Arians likes to throw deep. And Bruce Arians usually has around 20 interceptions by his quarterbacks the first time that they play with him. So Brady's interceptions are mostly because he's with a new system, but he still is not having a good season as far as interceptions go. That being said, even if he has the same stats as some of the other players vying for MVP, he might not get it because of his interceptions and because of his quarterback record, because currently he's 7-5. So the other 3 players above him all have 2 or more or less losses than Brady does. So he currently has a solid chance at MVP. I'm putting him at about a 13% chance, but it's not as good as the next 3. And the next 3 are basically the bulk of the MVP race. Next on the list, we have Russell Wilson at number 3. Wilson's currently 256 of 362 for 3,214 yards, 31 touchdowns, 10 picks, and a quarterback rating of 111.5. He has 61 rushes for 370 yards and a touchdown. He's number 3 in yards per game and number 2 for touchdowns. He has a record of 8-3. And he's currently projected to have around 5,000 yards, a quarterback rating of 112, 45 touchdowns, 14 picks, 80 rushes for 500 yards and 2 touchdowns. And with Russell Wilson, the issue is that he started off the season phenomenally. He started off the season going for an NFL record for passing touchdowns. And in the last 3 weeks, he's gone from 28 to 31. That being said, he still has phenomenal statistics, and he still is a phenomenal candidate for the MVP. But if he continues on this trend, then he will not have the touchdowns to match Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes, or Tom Brady. And currently, he has 10 interceptions, which is almost as high as Brady. Granted, he has a better record. He's 8-3 versus Brady being 7-5, but his interceptions are holding him back from the MVP. And if he continues to throw as many interceptions, ends up with 14, it doesn't disqualify him from the MVP race, but it definitely hurts his chances. So right now, Russell Wilson has around a 17% chance, I think. We have Aaron Rodgers at number 2. He's 261 of 381 for 3,100 yards, 33 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 117.6. He has 19 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown. He's number 6 for passing yards per game, and he's number 1 for touchdowns. He's 8-3 right now, and he's projected to have around 4,500 yards, a quarterback rating of 117, 48 touchdowns, 6 picks, and 30 carries for 125 yards and a touchdown. There's not really anything holding him back. It's just basically him versus Patrick Mahomes. Basically, who throws less picks and who throws more touchdowns. Currently, Aaron Rodgers is winning in touchdowns, and Mahomes was winning in picks. He's winning with less picks. So, it's an interesting situation to be in. They're both having phenomenal seasons. They're both having MVP seasons. Russell Wilson's also having an MVP season. But you can't have 3 MVPs. You can only have 1. And that brings us to our number 1 candidate, which is Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is currently 291 of 423 for 3,497 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 2 picks. He has a quarterback rating of 115.5. He has 52 carries on the ground for 209 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he's currently number 1 in yards per game and number 3 in passing touchdowns. He's the only player on this list besides Russell Wilson who is top 3 in both yards and touchdowns. Russell Wilson is 3-2, and Mahomes is 1-3. Mahomes' record also is 10-1. That's why I have him above Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. If he wasn't 10-1, then Aaron Rodgers might be in first place. But the fact that Patrick Mahomes is 10-1, the only player with a better quarterback record than him is Ben Roethlisberger, and Patrick Mahomes' stats blow Ben's out of the water. Patrick Mahomes is on track for 5,000 yards, a rating of 115, around 45 touchdowns and 4 picks, 75 carries for 275 yards and 3 touchdowns. There's nothing holding him back right now. The only thing that could potentially happen is if he has a really bad game and Aaron Rodgers has a phenomenal game, and that swing really gives Aaron a boost towards the MVP race. That being said, the Chiefs are probably going to get the number 1 seed in the AFC. There aren't really any other teams threatening them except for the Bills and the Titans, and I don't think that. They'll be the number 2 seed if the Steelers don't lose any more games. I completely forgot the Steelers existed. If Aaron Rodgers manages to get the number 1 seed in the NFC, if Patrick Mahomes beats Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers wins out and goes 13-3, Aaron could be the number 1 seed and Patrick Mahomes could be the number 2 seed, and that could potentially end up influencing the playoffs. If that influences the playoffs, then we could see a completely different MVP race by the time the playoffs come and by the time the Super Bowl is here. But right now, Patrick Mahomes is the NFL frontrunner for the MVP. He's having a phenomenal season, just like he did a couple of years ago. And that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe. We're about 23 subscribers away from 500 at the filming of this video. That's halfway to 1,000, so I can't thank you guys enough for all this incredible support that you've given me throughout the past couple of months. And I'll see you guys all in the next video. Peace out.